Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Rose, and today I'd like to share with the world what I call the 5 stages of reality. Now, I didn't read this anywhere. Came up with it in my own brain. And it's based on the 3 stages of knowledge. And if you watched any of my other videos, you know I talk about those 3 stages of knowledge a whole lot, don't I? They tie into a special teaching tool I created to help everyone make some sense out of this crazy world we live in. Now I've added 2 more stages and got 5 stages of reality. Now I came up with this recently, a couple months ago. I was working on stress. I did a video on stress a couple months back. Make sure and put a link down below in the description box for that. And it was when I was working on this that I was going to use my tool to explain everything. I never did, however, because I know it kind of confuses some people. It shouldn't, because it's really simple. But I like to use my special teaching tool to explain everything, because everything fits in one of these 3 stages of knowledge. And when I was thinking about using it to explain how stress works, because it's in different stages, I realized that it didn't make much sense to say 3 stages of knowledge, and 3 stages of reality sounded better. And that got me thinking, as well as some of the other things I was studying about stress. And I realized I got 2 more stages I can add to the 3 stages of knowledge, where we have thoughts, actions, reactions. Remember those 3 stages? First stage, thoughts. Second stage, actions. Third stage, reactions. This is the knowledge we acquire. This is the knowledge we apply. This is the knowledge we manifest. Thoughts, actions, reactions. Beliefs, causes, effects. You see where I'm headed with this? Causes and effects, actions and reactions. We need to understand this form of 2-value logic, these ordered pairs, so we can solve our problems. So we have our belief system, our lifestyle choices, our feedback system. I love those descriptions. Our feedback system, based on our lifestyle choices, based on our belief system. The things we think in the first stage of knowledge, the things we do or have done to us in the second stage of knowledge, and then the things we get in the third stage of knowledge. But there's something that comes before our thoughts, and that's our awareness. Our awareness is our ability to have a thought before thought. And what comes before awareness? Our consciousness. Our consciousness is our awareness of our awareness. So we have consciousness, that's our awareness of our awareness. We have our awareness, that's the ability to have a thought before thought. What follows thoughts? Actions and reactions. Now, what comes before the reaction? The action. What comes before the action? The thought. What comes before the thought? The awareness. What comes before the awareness? The consciousness. What comes before the consciousness? Okay, that's where I'm leaving this video. You guys tell me, is that God? Are there 7 stages of reality? God, consciousness, reality, or awareness? Is God and consciousness the same thing? John von Neumann believed that consciousness creates reality. So 5 stages of reality. What do you guys think of that? Have you ever heard anyone else say that before? I never have. I never heard anyone talk about the 3 stages of knowledge before. And yet I can't take credit for it, because it's common sense. We've got 2 ordered pairs we have to understand in order to solve problems that we face. It's those thoughts and those actions. That's one ordered pair. A and B, 1 and 2. But then we got those actions and reactions. We got the causes and the effects, the B and the C, the 2 and the 3. Cause and effect is not A and B. There's something before the cause. It's our thoughts. And you know what comes before our thoughts? It's our awareness. And before our awareness is our consciousness. So, does this help anybody? Please let me know what you think. I'm going to open up this comment section to try to shed some light on this very profound question about life. What is consciousness? Well, they say it's 0-point energy before the Big Bang. Ooh, poo, poo, poo. Don't want to believe in that hokum. Or do we? So we have 0-point energy. That's formless energy. It could all fit inside something of the green pea, they claim. It used to fit on top of a needle. Used to fit on top of a needle, but now they say it's the size of a green pea. It's formless energy, 0-point energy. There's consciousness in there. It's pure thought, pure energy. And then it goes into space and dilutes itself. It vibrates in space, becomes tachyon energy, vibrating energy. There's still consciousness there. And guess what connects everything? When energy steps down a level, what happens? Light is emitted. Biophotons. If you know anything about my YouTube channel, you know it's all about helping you guys understand the importance, the importance of eating our biophotons. We got to stop killing our biophotons. If we don't eat our biophotons, if we kill them instead, we won't have all of our senses. And we're going to continue to struggle as a species. We will continue to have all of these subsequent needs that are used to control us, like our subsequent need for government, our subsequent need for media, our subsequent need for education, our subsequent need for money. These are subsequent needs because we're sick and we're disconnected. We don't have enough biophotons. Now the mob is out of control. The mob rules, that's the problem. Watch Satan's Secret Weapon. And I explain how governments go through cycles. I explain how democracies go through cycles. And it all started because we stopped eating biophotons. We lost one of our senses. We acquired subsequent needs we didn't have before. The mob's out of control. Now we need to control the mob. And now, when you look at the 9 stages of democracy, we're at the very last stage in America. We're sliding into that dependency stage where the mob begins to rule again. That's why all democracies fail. It goes through these 9 stages. It ends back up in dependency, and that's where the mob realizes that we can vote whoever we want in, and that will destroy the government. It will make us bankrupt. And the powers that be know this. That's why the biggest threat to the powers that be is a middle class. That's why Aristotle knew that. He said, you got to have a large middle class to make sure this cycle doesn't keep repeating. Powers that be have got to keep us poor, and they got to keep us sick. My whole channel is about those 2 messages. The ultimate tool of control, our health. The absolute tool of control, the money. They print it. They keep us poor. We're out of control. We need a Progerian class now. We need a police force. Now, the police force we created to protect ourselves is now going to be used against us. And look what's happening to France right now. I'm going to digress a whole lot on this subject because I saw a video the other day that was very upsetting. Now, I've been somewhat keeping up what's going on in France with the yellow vest. And, of course, the media here doesn't portray what's really going on. But I heard just the other day that there are already 19 people who've lost their eyes because they're being shot with these weapons that are laser guided. These people are intentionally aiming for people's heads and eyes, and there have been eyes that have been shot out. 19 people. This is our Progerian class, the police force. And I'm thinking to myself, how can these guys survive in France right now? I would think that everybody in France would be up in arms about these thugs that are shooting on their own people. Was thinking of an odd analogy the other day, and I don't even know if I want to go into it because I haven't worked it out yet. I like to work things out many times in front of the camera and just kind of go with it to see where it takes me. And I guess I'll give it a try. Let me see how I tried to do it. Let's imagine we're on a different planet. Let me see if I can pull some numbers out of the head, my head that will make the math work easy for me. Let's say there's 10 billion people. And we live in paradise. No one's learned to cook their food yet. So there aren't any problems, there aren't any subsequent needs, no illnesses, no violence, no wars, no crime. We're all getting along. The mob's not a problem. We don't need a government. But what would happen, let's say, if all of a sudden a plague breaks out? And let me see, let's say 100 million people every year on your planet come down with this plague. And it's horrible. It kills 90% of everybody. And you guys don't know what to do. Is there a cure for it? So you look for the cure, the magical cure, which never does exist, does it? But let's just say they find a cure for this plague that's affecting, how many people did I say? 100 million? Remember, I'm just making this up. 100 million people, let's say. 90 million people are dying every year. Only 10% survive. 10 million survive. Hey, we got a new drug. And we don't know for sure how it works, but it's odd. that it's just the percentages are just the opposite. Turns out the 10% who would have survived this plague are the ones who die when you take this drug, but the other 90% survive. It's a better deal, right? See, we were losing, how many would that be? 10 million before. We're losing 90 million before and saved 10 million. Now it's the other way around. We're saving 90 million and only 10 million die, so that's a savings of 800 million. What a deal, we should do it, right? But what if this drug, like the drugs here on our planet, come with side effects? Isn't that funny how all these drugs come with side effects? And they'll tell you, look, we did our studies, we know. If you take this drug, 10% of you guys are going to have this problem, 10% are going to have this problem, but let's work on this planet. Let's see, what can I say? Let's say that 30% of the people who take this drug commit suicide, or just say murder, which includes suicide. We'll say 20% of these people become thieves and robbers. They commit armed robbery and embezzlement. The other group, 30%, was committing suicide and homicide. And there's a lot of crossover here, because many times the people who kill other people will kill themselves. That's what happens here on our planet, isn't it? And isn't it interesting how every one of these mass shootings, the shooter is on these SSRI drugs, which have side effects. They can cause suicide and homicide. Well, hey, isn't it interesting? I got a scenario happening on this other planet that's sort of similar to our SSRI drugs, but not entirely. Now let's see, what else can I say about this drug? 30% murder, homicide, suicide. The another 20%, let's say, have armed robbery and embezzlement. They're thieves. And there's a crossover. If you're going to kill, you usually steal, and if you steal, you usually kill. And then we'll say 10% of the people who take this drug commit violent crimes. And there's a crossover. You can never only have one of these 5 symptoms or 3 symptoms. You usually have more than one. And now we'll say that 70% of the people who take this drug don't have any symptoms at all. Now, what do we do if this happens? We scratch our heads and think, my God, we were losing 80 million people extra a year before the drug. We're losing 800 million. We're losing 900 million people every year. Remember, 100 million come down with the disease. It is 90 million. See, I'm coming up with these, didn't use the right numbers. You know how to adjust for everything I said. 100 million, 90 million were dying at first. Only 10 million were saving. Now it's just the opposite. We're saving 90 of those 100 million and we lose 10 million. So we benefit by 80 million. But 30% of the people are committing murder. What do? Do we outlaw the drug? Or do we create a Purgerian class, a police force to control us? Now, why am I telling this story? Well, it sort of ties into the Purgerian class of what's happening right now with the yellow vest over in France. These people protesting against globalism. All around the world, we're protesting against globalism. And it's made possible because of the Purgerian class. So it's a lot like this other planet. They don't know what to do. They're scratching their head. They're thinking, we want to save as many people as we can. It's a gamble if you come down with the disease, because we don't know for sure what makes one person survive it and another person die from it. So it's rolling the dice. Do you feel lucky that you're the 10% that would survive, so you won't take the drug, or do you feel that you're one of the unlucky ones and you better take that drug, knowing that you might commit suicide or homicide or start stealing, embezzling, or beating people up, raping them, becoming a thug? So what does this culture do? They scratch their head once again. They think, we want to save as many people as we can, but now the people taking the drug are going around killing people. What do? We deal with the problem. We work downstream. And that's the purpose of my special teaching tool, is to help us realize that there are thoughts, actions, and reactions. If we got a bunch of problems down here in the reactions, the things we manifest, we can deal with those by creating a police force and lock the people up so they can't act out. on these bad thoughts. Remember, I explain all this in my special teaching tool, the ultimate schematic. There's 3 stages of knowledge: on the right path and on the wrong path, and there are 18 connections, 18 portals that connect everything together. And the prisons that we have are in between the negative A box of false knowledge or bad thoughts and the negative B box of bad actions, wrong actions, mistakes. So what we do is we put prisons, we lock people up so they can't act out on those bad thoughts and create bad behavior. Therefore, we don't manifest the problems. That's what we're doing in our society. And of course, when it comes to medicine, they're not in 105 that connects negative A to negative B. They're in the 106 box, I labeled it that, between the negative B box of actions and the negative C box of reactions. If we make mistakes, if we don't satisfy our needs, we have all these problems. And what our medical system does, it's tantamount to what we do with people when we lock them up in prisons and asylums. It's an illusion. Don't let the symptoms manifest. It's not the solution. We got to go upstream and realize why we have the behavior we have. In the case of that planet way out there, wherever it might be, they're taking a drug. Comes down here, what is it? Our drug is cooked food. Don't you see the point I'm trying to make here? A lot of people don't understand the horrible ramifications from cooking our food because they're eating it and they're acting out okay. Well, you're maybe part of the 70% that doesn't have any symptoms when you take that drug. But there's a small percentage of us that are having problems. And that's what we have to wake up to as a species. We got to realize that our actions have consequences and that all of our behavior can be put into a bell-shaped curve, where 96% of us are in the middle. 2% on one side is extreme, 2% on the other. Can't cut the edges of the bell off. Wish we could. The psychopaths that are running everything. The bell has to change. So that's the whole message right there of my YouTube channel, is to help everyone understand that we play a role. We all have to be the best that we can be so we can change the bell, so the edges of the bell will change. And then hopefully there will be a day where we won't need a Projarian class because we're no longer out of control. And the day that we are no longer out of control, where we have a subsequent need for government, a subsequent need for a Projarian class, a police force and an army, a subsequent need for money and education and the media. That day, my friends, is the day I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to. Because I know what's going to happen when that day does come upon us. We'll be in for a treat.